Thank you for purchasing AutoDrill products. This video is being provided to give you a basic overview of your pneumatic controls provided with your 4 drills. As you can see here, we have temporarily set everything up with some very short tubing just so I can make this video and provide some documentary photos for our files. You, of course, will put all of these start buttons and modules and this timer and, of course, this whole unit on your fixture in a convenient location for the buttons to be located and all of that. It'll be cleaned up quite significantly. So we're going to go over the basics of this setup right now, hopefully to give you some rudimentary understanding of how it functions. Right here is where your source air will come in from your compressor. Obviously this switch here, or this valve, will be opened and allow your line pressure to come in to this filter, regulator, and lubricator. You will want at least 100 psi at this location in order to provide this entire unit with enough air pressure to function properly. Right here you have a regulator that you can turn the knob on, and this dial here will show the amount of line pressure that's allowed to pass through. Again, we would hope that you'd be able to get 100 psi or so going through there, no more than 120. The first step in operating your controls, you have 2 start buttons here. These again, they're both green. These again will both be mounted onto your fixture, and of course you'll press both of them at the same time because they're a 2-hand anti-tie-down start. With this module, you'll have to press them within about a quarter second of each other in order for anything to happen. When you press these 2 buttons, it will go through this module and it will empower this valve to close your clamps. If your clamps close properly and your part is properly seated and ready to be drilled, you will move on to the next step. However, if your part does not seat properly, your clamps do not close properly, you can press this red clamp abort valve. The clamps will then open back up and you'll be able to put the part back in place again, press your 2 start buttons over again, and check the part to make sure it's seated, clamps are closed, etc. When the clamps are closed, it provides air to this next module here. This module, in turn, provides air to these 2 anti-tie-down start buttons. Again, these are green. These will be fixtured on your table or so in a convenient location. And when you press these at the same time, they will cause all 4 drills to stroke forward at the same time. These buttons do not have air pressure until the clamps are closed by these 2 buttons. So if you press that red stop button, or if your clamps are open, these buttons will do absolutely nothing, and that is the way it's designed. That way you cannot start the drilling process without having your part properly clamped and seated. Of course, it'll be up to the operator to make sure that happens. When you press those 2 buttons there, you will empower valve number 1, valve number 2, valve number 3, and valve number 4 to start the drill stroking forward. The way that these valves are set up, I'll just look at one for now. You have a regulator for each valve. This regulator gives you the proper amount of forward stroke pressure. If I remember correctly, you have 4 drills. One has a single spindle, another one has a double, one has a triple, and the final has a 4-spindle head. You will want to set these regulators so that you have the proper amount of thrust for each of those units. You could use either valve, any valve for any drill, whatever's most convenient for you to route your tubing. So I would suggest maybe starting at about 45 or 50 pounds for each unit, and maybe going up somewhere in the 80-90 pound range for the 4-spindle unit, something like that. You'll know when you take a look at your curl and of course your parts and experiment a little bit. Once it's set, of course you lock them in place and you don't touch them again. When the drills are stroking, what will happen is you have a small fitting here. This fitting does not have a tube in it right now because out of this fitting, we'll provide you with enough tubing to set this whole thing up, but out of this fitting, a tube will go from here all the way to drill number 1. Drill number 1 will then feed the limit switch on drill number 2, drill number 3, and drill number 4 in series. So this fitting feeds the limit switches on the drills and you set them up in series. All drills will stroke forward, they'll finish the drilling process, and when the final drill completes, the limit switches will make a complete circuit, the air will be allowed to pass through, and it will come back to this splitter right here. So now all the limit switches are depressed, the air is coming back to this splitter, it goes through the splitter, follows this tube up to this control valve, it energizes the start buttons, and it also over here, it basically retracts all 4 of these drills. So now the drills are stroking backward, pulling the drills out of your part. At the same time, the air from the limit switches also came into this pneumatic timer, which can be set anywhere from about half a second to 5 seconds plus. This timer is used to delay your clamps opening. So if you set this at 5 seconds, let's say, 5 seconds after the drills start to retract, it will send air up to this valve and will open your clamps. Of course, you do not want your clamps to open while the drill bits are still engaged in your part, so you'll have to set this timer to work appropriately for your application. Once this air comes up here and opens the clamps, you will no longer have any air to the system whatsoever, except to the 2 start buttons to close the clamps again. Of course, at this time, you'll take your part out, you'll put the new part in, you'll close the clamps, make sure it seats properly, abort if necessary, and reset, and repeat the process. If you have any questions, please contact us at AutoDrill, and our phone number is 800-871-5022. We look forward to serving you however we can. Thank you.